Let's see. Alright. Can people hear me? Classic microphone stuff. The legend. Let's see if people can hear this. Hello. It's a Mitchell. Yo. Can you guys hear us? I don't know if anyone. People hear me? I think that this mic might not be working. I'm sorry, Naveen, man. We're like 5 minutes late. Still eating breakfast. Alright, sick. Good morning, friend. We got some beautiful sunshine coming in. Look at this sun.
This is sweet.
Bang.
Good morning.
Yeah, I've been eating breakfast every morning, just sitting right here, getting like blinded, taking in the sun. We got Linda up in the chat. Let's go.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. So I thought we could, you guys are glowing. Oh, you're so kind. Thought we could get started maybe by just doing a general life catch-up. Like, I think mostly you to start.
Yeah.
So, do you just want to go? And then people can ask whatever questions, and we can just keep riding.
Word up.
And then I got some fun announcements.
Fun announcements.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what these announcements are, so I'm as interested as you are. My life. So, let's see. Recently, I moved home, like I said I would, with my parents, mostly at my mom's house. So I'm living with my mom and my sister back in the beach town that I grew up in. And I started applying for jobs because, of course, I need a certain amount of money to go to India for a certain amount of time, which everyone who's supported me on GoFundMe, thank you so much, helped out with that, like, amazingly. It's been crazy. But, yeah, so went home, started applying for jobs, and I didn't really know what I was going to be looking for a job. I was like, maybe something that just pays well. Like, usually I'm looking for something that is, like, going to spark some sort of fulfillment in me or some sort of, like, aligns with what I went to school for. But this was just like, maybe I'll just get something that pays well. But I found myself only applying to jobs that were youth counselor jobs. So basically, me taking the role of some sort of like guardian slash almost like parental figure for a kid who's in like a tough situation. And I got one of those jobs. It's like 15 minutes away from my house. It's at this place called St. Vincent's. And yeah, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be like,
It's also funny because if you know Mitch, you never would have expected him to apply to that kind of job.
no.
You would have been like, he's going to do something hands-on,
Yes, yeah.
farming, something
Right,
like working with outdoors.
Yeah, something manual. That's usually the MO that I have. But yeah, I felt like I really was feeling this like calling or whatever to work with people. And specifically it felt like kids were, I don't know, like less tight in their perceptions potentially of how things are. And also those were the positions that were open because, you know, if I were to take that role with older people, I would need a lot more schooling in that regard. And so, yeah, I've literally just been home and been going to trainings for that. and going to this like pretty cool yoga studio, which I wouldn't have thought that I would do because I'm not doing any formal yoga anymore. But it's just this the atmosphere in the studio, the instructor, the way that it feels like it's doesn't go into that like Americanized version of yoga very much. It's like very a lot of it's rooted in sound healing, which is really crazy
Whoa.
to experience. Yeah, I've been to like a few classes now, so
Yo, I see some people saying echo.
echo. What does that mean? Double mic?
Oh, wait. Okay. Let me try turning this off. Is the echo gone now? I hope that fixed it. It's always got this like 30-second lag or whatever, so
Yeah.
very strange. Yeah, I think that this mic, I just couldn't figure out how to hook it up again. Perfect. All right. Sounds good now. Yeah, it seemed like the desktop was also like picking up the audio, so good.
Uh, hmm.
Okay, wait. So you said you were going to a yoga studio
Yeah.
where they're using sound healing?
Yeah.
What? How?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that was actually kind of nuts. It's just someone that my mom met along the way because my mom's been going to different, like more American yoga classes, for as long as I can remember, like literally the whole time I've been alive.
And for
And
those of you in India, a more American yoga class, I feel like is very much just focused on asana practice.
yeah, usually asana doesn't get into it doesn't it's the whole thing isn't tied together like the asana with the any sort of breath work or like master involved. It's usually just like this one teacher, and they usually teach something kind of similar that's very physical, very much to help your physical body and maybe make you feel a little bit more present. And so that's the yoga that I was accustomed to until, of course, going on to this channel. Uh, but this studio is far from that. I've never experienced anything like this studio in the U.S. Yeah. So that's interesting. So, yeah, the sound healing was developed by this woman who I just got to meet the other day. So she was the teacher of the teacher for this studio that I'm going to.
Okay.
And this woman came in, gave a guest lecture, and did a whole almost 2 hour sound healing thing.
Whoa.
And yeah, interestingly enough, every time that I've gone and done the sound healing, I don't feel great after. Like I almost feel worse.
What is the process of sound healing?
You're basically put into a state via drums, like a drum beat, and different, like many different singing bowls.
Are you like in savasana, just laying on your back or
gongs,
something, or what?
anything that's comfortable for you.
Okay.
It might start with some asana practice, and then you move into shavasana. But this longer one that I just did was she gave a brief introduction about who she was, and then just like over an hour and a half at least of
Whoa.
just sound just running through you. Yeah. So that's like gong, that's singing bowls, that's like little tiny cymbals, the drum. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
But the crazy part was afterwards. So I was so interested in going to this class because the main instructor for this studio was I've seen since the first time I met her this certain glow in her eyes that tells me that she does the stuff. She doesn't just talk stuff. It's like
Mm.
she is energetically and state of being wise different than anybody else in the room, because
Mm.
I can see the glow in her eyes and I can't describe it. It's like it's not something you can like say this is why, but I've just noticed it, and that's the type of thing that I've just like I feel like I have an eye for now with
Mm.
going deeper. And then she was talking so highly of her teacher. So I was like, who the heck's this person? And so I
Mm.
actually got to talk to her afterwards. And I noticed halfway through our conversation, which was like good 10 minutes long, that I hadn't even noticed that we didn't break eye contact the entire time.
Whoa.
But it's not just that we didn't break eye contact for the whole conversation. It was that it was so comfortable making eye contact with her
Mm.
because of her presence that I didn't even notice that it felt weird.
Mm.
Because with anyone, I've never met this person. With anyone I've never met, seemingly all those people, it's like if I maintain eye contact for more than just a little bit more than is normally comfortable, which is like right there. Like that's
Yeah.
literally the amount. It's like 3 seconds. Then I start to get this like sort of that welling up inside of you, like, oh, that's a little uncomfortable.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Didn't get that at all with this person. Yeah.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy how like subtle the state of being shift is.
Yeah. It's very subtle.
Like the people in my life who like I have a great aunt on my mom's side, which is the German side of my family. And she practices qigong, is like a teacher of qigong, and has practiced different types of Buddhist meditation for years and years and years now. Um, and she just kind of like moves more like a child, even though she's
Mm.
70, 72 now or
Wow.
something. But it's something that, as you know, when you're younger, you're like, oh, this is like a really friendly, upbeat person. And then now, witnessing her practices and all the work that she's done up until this point, and then seeing the way that she moves around a room, or when something goes a direction that like our family wasn't planning it to go that day, like we miss a bus or whatever, her attitude is just different than everyone else's. And it's just different enough that you're like,
Mm.
she's just like more she's just more here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
less like here.
Mm.
But yeah, it's one of those things that I would always, as a kid, you would have just thought whatever,
Yeah.
and then now it's like, oh no, I understand what's going on.
It really feels like it has so much to do in my current perception of how it's all going. So much to do with just becoming more and more and more sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Dude, someone goes, the Ram Dass eyes. That's a fact.
That's exactly it. The Ram Dass eyes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm. Sensitivity is the name of the game,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And the whole thing's like so subtle.
yeah.
It's like sometimes I feel like I touch upon something that's more truth than my usual direct experience, and it's like blink and you'll miss it type thing.
Mm.
It's so small, subtle tweak in the inside of your what's going on.
And that's another reason why on the outside, you wouldn't be able to pick it up at all on another person
Yeah.
until you really start to like study that person,
Mm.
and then you start to notice these little things, and you're like, why did they not get upset about that?
Yeah, yeah,
Why did
yeah.
they laugh at that?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just amazing.
Frank Yang has this line that's like, oh yeah, it's like one of the reasons why enlightenment is sweet is that you can not be human anymore and still live the life of a human as if you're human.
You're just in disguise.
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, I literally, you're just an ordinary person again. Like nothing,
Mm.
nothing's like it's, you've just aligned with the cosmos, and that's just normal. That's not extraordinary.
Mm.
and and he's like,
Bars.
I just, I'm just an average guy again. I'm just ordinary.
I'm just an
It's like,
average guy.
wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, is there anything else in your life right now that you feel like is something that you would like to share?
Hmm.
I also need to go say something real quick to a roommate.
Okay. What else would I like to share? Well, I don't know if like this is pertinent, but I've picked up uh, self inquiry as my one and only like spiritual practice, which has been very, very interesting, very difficult. Also, I hear it's very simple, but I've yeah, it's been uh, I've had to try and look at the whole thing from so many different angles because I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But also, there's something in me that knows that it's so direct for me comparatively to the other paths. And yeah, and another thing I'd like to share is that being home, away from all my friends here, away from the people that I met at university or college, has been pretty tough. I've been spending a lot of time alone, feeling lonely, feeling like closed off, feeling isolated, sort of like the feeling that a lot of people got during the pandemic, that feeling of aloneness. Yeah, that's been the biggest thing that I've been dealing with for sure.
What have you been dealing with?
I just told them that I have picked up self inquiry,
Mm.
and that at the same time, while I've been home, I've been, away from friends, away from community up here, and have been experiencing lots of loneliness,
Mm.
lots of feeling of aloneness, and lots of the mind doing its best to distract from that because it's a pit. It's like an empty pit that
Mm.
just is there when everything else isn't there, and it's been difficult. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is how it is.
I feel like it's been a time of like with Learn With Us coming to a close. It really feels like the intellectual side of things has had like I've turned the page on that in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and now it's like all of the knowledge about how to live and what to live is there.
Mm.
Now it's just like implementation. Obviously, that knowledge is going to keep growing. Like, it's not like I just don't watch spiritual content anymore or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it shifted probably from like 90% watching and 10% doing to 90% doing and 10% watching.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that has meant like getting in the ring with those things and being like, whoa, and then just getting like knocked down and
Yeah,
like standing
yeah.
back and be like, oh, I'm ready.
Oh, that's so true. That is yeah, a great conceptualization about where we're at right now.
Someone goes, how do you cope?
How do you
Crotches.
cope?
I'm guessing, how do you cope with that? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, it feels like uh, it's it's tricky because on one hand, these are feelings that you're having. These are like things coming up, which is good. You're feeling alone, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling this emptiness, and if it comes up, you can do your best to look at it, see it clearly, and be like, "What is this?" Sometimes the way I cope is I distract myself. It's just how it is. Like, and then nothing. It's still there. I haven't done anything productive about it, but that's what I do sometimes. Other times I can really root in knowing that the loneliness is coming from thoughts and only thoughts, and there's nothing else causing the loneliness. It can feel like feelings, but something that has been like this big revelation for me is that the only reason why a thought has any pull on me as an individual is because it's tied with an emotion, it's tied with a sensation, and it'll legitimately fire chemicals in my body when I have the thought. And that, if it's just a thought, sometimes it's like, say, interesting one for me has been food lately, desire for food. I have this desire to eat X, French fries, whatever. It's just floating up here. It's just like, there's nothing harmful about it. It's not pulling my consciousness. It's just the thoughts just coming and going. And it's like it's weightless, it's empty. And then once the sensation in my body happens, my body happens when my body catches up with that thought in a way. Or if that thought holds on long enough for, say, my mouth is to start watering. Or that like excited feeling that you get when you're like gonna follow a desire that's like really intense. That is when I act on it. Or it starts to really pull my consciousness, and I either end up acting on it, or it takes a good deal of struggle to recenter.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. With I'm learning a lot about like business right now because I work for this guy, Pursuit of Wonder. I feel like I've talked about it before. He runs a big channel on YouTube, and uh, I'm helping him, or I've just been doing a lot of like, I'm sort of a big picture person when it comes to this sort of stuff. So I'm helping with a lot of the what's like the next thing for this channel. How is this going to become more and more of like a self-empowered thing rather than getting paid through like sponsorships and stuff like that? Like, how do you directly interact with your fan base? Um, and the biggest thing that all that stuff keeps coming back to is that people make purchases based on emotion, not thought, which is what every big marketing firm is doing, is just trying to like trick you into emotionally feeling like you need something, so then you want to purchase it or whatever. Um, and then it's really interesting because on a channel like his or like ours, where there's a lot of like deep thinking going on, it's almost as if it's it's just been this weird like interplay of seeing how somebody's thoughts and actions are different than someone's emotions and actions, and also seeing how the thoughts are like a surface level to the emotion, because any thought that you have still has like the only value that it gives is the emotion that's tied to it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're if you're like if you say something is better than something else, and you're like, I logically think that eating good food is better than eating junk food or whatever. You can logically think that, but if you are emotionally tied to the junk food, like you're just always gonna act on that.
Yeah.
And it's just such an interesting thing to then like so clearly observe and really like dive into with other people, and then notice it within myself too, of like the only reason any of these logical thoughts have value is because of the emotional value that's placed on the thought.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so it's just like weird that a thought, yeah, just kind of a different way of saying what you're saying, of like
Yeah.
the thought's actual power lies in emotion,
Yes.
and that those things aren't like separated, and that the thought and the emotion, and this is where it gets more into like kind of a manifestation type of thing, or what Sadhguru always says about like you get to choose your reality based on your perception, because a thought and an emotion that are going to be tied together, if you start learning to focus your thoughts on certain positive things, or you start learning to focus your emotions on positive things, they're both going to directly affect each other, which is also going to affect your whole body system. I, I feel like one of the best practices over the last 3 years or whatever that I've had is just at the end of a morning meditation, focus on positive emotion and literally just fill your body with positive emotion. And then it's like now 3 years later is only when I'm noticing the work. And all of a sudden it's like during a day, if something crappy happens, my initial thought and my initial emotional reaction to that thing happening is like, oh, things are going to be all right. Like this overall thing is really good. And that's like the fallback emotion now, rather than the fallback thoughts and emotion being, crap, this isn't working. What do I need to do right now?
Spiral, yeah.
Which is what it always was before, and even like throughout these 3 years. And only now is it like, and that's another one of those like, it's so subtle. It takes time. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
And the more and more you do it, it's almost like muscle memory in a certain sense. Which brings me to a thought I had last night, or I think it was last night. But I said this at the dinner table last night. I don't know if you were there for that. But how in science, it's almost like there's this huge assumption currently that consciousness is created by the brain. And I just had this like weird thought while going to bed. I was like, what if the brain and the body were like a computer, and consciousness was like the human to the computer? And every morning when like this human body wakes up, it's like consciousness just logged into this computer and was like, oh, I get to like play this game again today or whatever. and just like then you can, just like a computer program, you can like train this brain to have like certain programs running of happiness, or like train this brain to have certain other programs running. And just the more consciousness is able to like really express itself through this machine, the more the machine is going to do what consciousness is like trying to do. It's just a weird thing. Yeah, do we have any fun questions or anything? I feel like anyone who who's got stuff. Someone goes pursue a wonder is cool. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we we have someone here saying how difficult it is to separate thoughts from emotions, and I think that's obviously quite a good point because we have, they say in the comment, because we have these habits or these subtle tendencies that are, for me, it feels like these. You know when like a dirt bike or like a four-wheeler goes through like a muddy trail, it leaves these ruts, and then the next dirt bike is most likely to go in that path, in that path, in that path, and it gets more grooved, more grooved, more grooved. So that's stuff that's those mental tendencies that we've been zooming down our whole life, and it's like, boom, something happens, you think of it, and then it's like this instant mental pathway right to the feeling, right to the action. And so we're in the process right now of slowing that down, seeing it happen, and it's not right to the action. There's a pause between the firing and the action, and that's just the beginning of the process. It's long, it's difficult, but that's the beginning of the process. And it's another random Frank Yang thing is he says that there's 3 stages of awakening. First, you wake up in the head and you recognize that you're not the thinker, not like you become sort of the witness. But then the second one is he says you wake up in the heart and you basically flush out the you thinking that you're the feeler. And that's something that I have never really heard from anyone else is the attachment with the feeling, because for me personally, I feel like the head stuff happened pretty fast for me because I'm such a feelings-based person and always have been. And the feelings stuff, it seems like it has the potential to be way more impactful in my life. I can feel it. I can feel it as it's coming up. I can feel how much, like how the process is a purification process. It's not just this random shit coming up from the depths. And it feels like potentially it's this like more drawn out process for me, or more like grueling, like oof, because it's visceral. It's like it's not just here anymore. It's here, and it's where you're feeling things. It's like that's what drives all my actions.
I was gonna say it feels largely like the process of getting out of your head is sitting more in your emotions and more in your feelings.
Yeah.
And that's almost why you feel more alive.
Yes.
In a certain sense, because like you're experiencing more viscerally, as you're saying.
Yeah.
So the idea of letting go of the thing that has made you feel more alive.
Yes.
It's like, because what are you if you're not your feelings?
That has been causing...
That's totally cutting the cord right
yeah,
there.
that's been causing empty pit of despair inside of me. No other way to put it. Just empty pit of despair, because the feelings, you're absolutely right. That is why I would usually say that I'm alive, is for those peak feelings, even if they're tough feelings. But it's like the in-between, between those, has always felt like depression for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's this massive fear when I start to get really peaceful. There's this thing that's like, what the heck are you doing? this, like, you have it here. These are the things that make you alive, and you're just like sitting in this neutral state all the time. That's not living. That's not being alive. And so it's so scary to me.
Yo, that is wacky.
Yeah, yeah.
With that then hits even harder, or it's hitting even harder for me right now, how especially someone like Frank Yang will say that enlightenment is death.
Yeah, right.
And if like the emotions are the thing that's making you feel alive, and then you disconnect from those,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
like
says.
that does make sense that you're just dead at
Yeah,
that point. And
yeah. He says if you want to be full, you first have to empty completely. And he always quotes this guy. I don't know who the guy is, but he says the quote is, "Everybody wants to wake up, but nobody wants to die." And that's why people, you can infer that's why so few people get there, is because nobody actually wants to die. They want the spirituality, they want the cool stuff, they want the like lights show of like energy.
I feel like I'm connected to everything.
Yeah, but they don't want to stop being them, myself included.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's see what's going.
Yeah.
Oh, we got John Van Dalen in the chat.
Wow.
You done any somersaults recently, Eli? I've been on. I used to do a lot of like flips and stuff. That's always been a big part of my life. Like trampoline was a huge part of my life. Recently, my body has been asking for like very low key things, which is very different. I've been doing a lot of dancing and yoga.
Me too. I've been doing very little sports, very little movement. I am same boat. Decent amount of yoga, decent amount of dancing, not even a lot of both. Yeah.
Strange.
Has
Just
been.
these interesting waves.
Also, hey John, just shout out to John because if I remember his daily schedule correctly, he's usually sleeping right now. And I feel like maybe you woke up to watch this live stream, and that's pretty boss.
That's electric. Yes, indeed.
Oh, we have one. Depression doesn't exist.
That's a take.
Oh, yeah. I could tell myself that for 10 years, 1,000 times every day.
That would probably work, honestly.
You think so?
10 years, 1,000 times every day. That's some sadhana right there. Depression does not exist. Depression does not exist. One of the things I've been thinking about with kind of like depression, anxiety type stuff is that a lot of the talk around it these days has to do with brain chemicals. Like you'll often hear people say like, "Oh, my, like happy chemicals are working well today. Oh, my dopamine is down, serotonin is up, whatever." And I think this is all just interesting stuff to explore. But again, one of those things that came into my space or whatever was this thought of the brain chemicals aren't what matters. What matters is what are the brain chemicals made of? Because I guess it feels like there's so much focus on a particular level of reality that often becomes the thing that's like getting blamed or is now the cause when you could just go a layer deeper.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
Until you get to this, even logically get to a nothingness where 99.99999% of every atom is empty space that we don't understand.
Hmm.
Like, science says that 95% of reality is dark matter and dark energy. Dark meaning we just don't know. It
Hmm.
is not illumined by our understanding.
Hmm.
Maybe for someone like Sadhguru it is. I don't know. So we're playing with 5% of like a visible light and vibrational spectrum that our senses can pick up on. And then we're saying that things in that 5% are the things that are dictating reality.
Hmm.
And it's like, probably not. That would that would be like looking at the top tiny layer of the ocean and
Hmm.
being like, "Oh, this is the reason why the ocean functions the way it does."
Hmm.
When it's like, no, all the ocean processes are happening way down there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
way up there, and all those things are interacting to make the 5% that you're watching
Hmm.
work in a certain way.
Hmm.
I think that that's been comforting to come back to whenever I find myself like, yeah, really, really stuck in one way of viewing things, being like, what the hell? I know nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on?
Hmm.
Yeah. John didn't even have to set the alarm. Love that.
Nice. Anybody got burning questions?
Mm.
We're here to answer them. We are here to answer them.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like, what is a second? Who decided space between 2 seconds? I have been really getting deep into for months now, as many of you who like watched episodes frequently on Learn With Us, I started saying this thing of it feels like I need to find Eli's spirituality,
Mhm.
and I just kept coming to that. And recently that has become very clear for me of what that is, and it's through a guy who I've talked about a bunch, KRS-One, and hip hop. And it's interesting because before before like knowing that hip hop was a whole form of spirituality, which is really just this guy KRS-One who and the other people with him who are viewing hip hop through a more spiritual lens
Yeah.
and understanding it that way. Um, but it's just been so interesting because throughout my whole life, I started like freestyle rapping when I was in like the ninth grade or something. And then since then, there's just been this weird like tug towards making hip hop music.
Hmm.
And whenever it would like leave for a few months and I would come back to like writing about my life, trying to figure out like what feels right. For some reason, hip hop always came up to the point where this whole YouTube channel began with making educational rap songs.
Yeah.
And that was like the root of it and the thing that I like cared the most about. And then that was all before finding KRS-One and finding hip hop as a means of spirituality. And uh, so it's just been like mind blowing seeing, and I think that's what has made this experience so powerful for me is that these things have literally been coming out of me, including to the point where I was writing songs and then days later in the Gospel of Hip Hop, which is like KRS-One's spiritual book, first spiritual book for hip hop, reading the lines that I had written. like that song God is Flow that I posted here or whatever. 2 days after that, I got to the section in the Gospel of Hip Hop that explains God and literally says like the way to merge with God is through flow. FLOW. Follow life's outcomes willingly. And
Wow.
and that was like 2 days after I had written and recorded this song. And it's like that type of thing that has just continuously slapped me in the face as I, Eli, am not the thing writing these words. Like these words are coming from something that somehow knows that same thing that someone else, like I'm sure it's happened with a lot of you and Sadhguru's teachings or something that like, or any other teacher where you'll have this like feeling of an idea and then you'll like say it out loud to your friend for the first time and then in a video the next day it's like the thing is set and you're like, I just said that,
Yeah.
you said that, what is the thing saying this? You know, because it's like, especially when writing hip hop, it's like a rhyme will come out and it will just be like, oh, that thing makes like, oh, that just flows nice. And it's just the thing that like fits into the beat well and just comes out of your mouth. And it happens on like, it feels kind of like a subconscious level. Like you're just writing and then I'll say the words or like look back at it and be like, I don't really know what that means. And then like within the next weeks or months, it becomes clear what it means. And it's just like, so I don't know, that's something that I've been connecting with so very deeply. And that's like one of the big things I wanted to talk about today at some point. But I forget why I went on this tangent, but there was a really good reason why I started on it. I feel like it was a comment. Someone goes Andre 3K.
Oh,
Yes.
the what is a second? Wait, was
Oh
that?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because one of the big things KRS-One says is that the way to really start taking responsibility over your life is to understand that all you have is a day and every day is the same day. Time, like all of the constructs of time are just ideas that we have and how you're supposed to use a day and what a day functions like and what you are expected to do. All of these things are literally just ideas. And if you start tuning into that flow in whatever way that comes through for you, you're going to start sensing a need to do something that normally wouldn't fit into that idea of a day. And it's like, you can either try to deny that type of thing and be like, no, I need to stay in this structure, or realize, yes, the idea of a second is literally made up. All that we have is either acting in flow, like following heart, following intuition, whatever you want to call it, or not. And one of those things, for some reason, leads to a far more fulfilling experience of life, in my experience. And it seems like everyone else who I know and talk to. And it just gets to this like magical thing where you start like peeking behind the curtain of like, what the hell is going on here, you know? And yeah, and that's when you start discovering stuff like spirituality. Like it's only, I made that video about the last Matrix movie and how I think the Matrix does a really good job of saying like the thing that starts a spiritual path is the yearning of a question. And the question is, what is the Matrix?
Yeah.
But then make that whatever question you have. Like,
and how did you come up with that question?
Exactly, and then that's where like the rabbit hole really begins, and you're like, who's asking this question? How could what? Yeah, sorry, that was a ride.
Give me $1. That's a great idea.
Among Us highlights. You watch Harry Mack? Yo, Harry Mack's a legend. Someday it'd be sick to link forces with that man. I want to get as good as freestyling.
Wow.
It's not actually my goal, but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
We got Samuel. I don't know.
The legend.
Yeah, guys, do you have any thoughts on
Solipsism.
Solipsism. What? Do you have any idea?
Solipsism is the philosophy that you are the only thing that exists and you are the only thing that you can prove exists.
Oh,
So it could be that everything else is just a figment of your imagination.
that's like a huge basis of the teachings of Maharshi is that you don't need to go and seek God anywhere. You can't prove God's existence. All you can prove is your own existence. So find out who you are, and that's all that's required to find God, basically.
And it's interesting because I think solipsism is often tied to a more negative spin of like, I'm the only thing that exists, so nothing else really matters.
Yep.
That's one of the things I've been noticing with a lot of Western philosophy, including something like existentialism. I've read a lot of this stuff because I was a philosophy major in college. Existentialism is just exploring why you exist, what existence is. But it has a lot of writers like Friedrich Nietzsche and other people like him. He's just the one that comes to mind first because he just like came onto the scene of philosophy and was like, everything up until now is wrong. Pretty much claimed he's famous for the statement God is dead. Of like everything that humanity has relied on is destroyed at this point, and he came like as big things about the Christian church were starting to crumble in a lot of places around the world. And he was witnessing how the meaning of life was being taken away. And then it was almost like now it's up to the individual in his philosophy. It's up to the individual to come up with a meaning to life. And what I've just been noticing about a lot of the like Western philosophies like that, including solipsism, is that for some reason there's always this spin of like slightly negative and individualistic versus a very similar idea to that is something like what Ramana Maharshi is saying of like, yes, your whole perception is happening within you. So figure out what that is. And it's almost like one of them involves going out into the world and practicing these things and like diving internal while you're experiencing, like pretty much seeing how this external is your internal, versus one of these philosophies is often a very cognitive thing only.
Yeah.
But then you see people like Ralph Waldo Emerson and stuff like that who almost seem to take a more positive spin on the Western type of stuff where they're like, you need to find meaning, but find meaning in all of this, in all the beauty.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was a big ride. Yeah. Are you guys together again? We're getting married.
Yeah. Getting married.
No, we've spent very little time together over the last bit.
Yeah. It's true.
Since when did you move out? Like the 20th of January?
Yeah.
So it's been a month, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Been a month since we've hung out. We've talked a few times on the phone.
Yep.
The way that both of us realized that it felt at like when we were saying our goodbyes in this house was that it feels like two people who have been journeying together for so long now realizing like, oh, the work I need to do is here, the work I need to do is there. And it's like, we know that no matter what's going on, we're both like, you know, one of our other roommates, Jake, describes it, or it might have been you who described
It was
it like
Jake,
this.
yeah.
Okay. Like walking on two paths in the woods and they're a little bit separated,
Yeah.
but you can always look through the trees and see your buddy right
Oh,
there.
man,
And
that's such a good one.
And even if that doesn't mean like physically you see them, it's like I know that they are going through something, right? Like you could feel that in your mind space, in your heart space. Or I guess if you let go of all those things, then you just feel them. Then you are them at that point or something. I don't know. I feel like I saw some more questions up here.
Any more questions? We are looking for questions.
You ought to channel more of that poetry. Follow a new dream if you're into poetry and hip hop and stuff, because it's going to be popping off. One of our buddies, Greg, is actually the guy who's produced most of the beats to the songs that we've made. And he's moving in today, which is very exciting. We're going to be doing a lot of that. Were you saying oh ho ho to something? I just remember you saying oh ho ho and then I cut you off.
Nope.
All right.
Can't remember. What's your opinion on existence of religion? Does it matter if society forgets the idea of religion?
What's up, Broughton? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, dude. What is good?
Broughton's one of the day oneers.
That, like, legitimate. We're talking...
Pre-1,000 subs.
Yes, pre-1,000, like, November 2020. That long ago. Yeah.
2022 now.
Yeah. That's like good over a year. So what's good? Personally, I feel like religion, it's very clear to me at this point that every single religion is aimed at just the same thing. But it seems as though what religion often does, which is an unfortunate thing from my perspective, is, like you say in the comment, gives ideas about what this, say, truth is. And so it seems like religion is just filled with people with these ideas of like, this is what God is, this is how to reach God, or these perceptions about how reality works. Like something that's crazy to me is the massive tradition in a lot of Christianity. It's not a tradition, but it's just the way it's practiced in the modern world today. It's like people praying for loved ones, for themselves, for their own well-being. And it feels like I don't know, I feel like that is all rooted in this idea that like God's working for you in the way that you would want God to work for you, not in the way that this supreme intelligence is always working for you, and just letting that be. But in general, it's just like, it feels like, to me, that religion just like fills up the head with these ideas about reality, whereas another Frank Yang thing, but also plenty of other sages say this, that like the truth is reality without any lens of perception. No lens of perception. You're not spinning the truth. You're not twisting it. You're not like putting this cool thing on it. It's just you find out the truth. And there's no way that you, when you find it, could change what it is in any lens of perception. So it's like religion feels like it sometimes puts on more layers of perception rather than stripping them away. And it just builds up these ideas about reality rather than this experiential knowing at some point what reality is without having to like spin it, I guess, is like, that's the thing for me is like concepts. It's like putting these mental concepts about what it all is for you. And I feel like that is something that I've been doing my best to check myself on every time I recognize that, oh, this is just a mental concept about how things are or about how I can attain whatever I want to attain or whatever. And the actual truth that is the only thing that matters to me at my core is not, it's completely untwisted, unaltered, completely pure, cannot be tainted at all. So any action by me to even view something from a different perspective feels to me right now like it's just putting another lens of perception on. It's not like it might be better, but like better in that it creates a higher quality of life for me, but it's just another mask through which to view the world, or another set of goggles, whatever. And so that's where I feel like intuitively like religion goes, like misleads people rather than leads them to.
And I think that also, that there's so many practitioners of every form of religion and spirituality that are totally just trying to bring you, like, that have found that place inside of themselves and are doing everything they can to bring people there as well. And that's, yeah, I feel like that's been interesting, trying to focus on who are like the sages of every.
Yes.
Like, I've been having conversations with one of my aunts who is a devout Christian. And it's been very interesting, I think, for both of us, because we will feel a certain amount of push and like ego when it comes to talking about spirit, God, whatever it is, because we both have our ideas. And like, what is ego besides ideas? And we'll have these kind of like, yeah, a little bit of tension there. And every time, or the more conscious I am throughout those conversations, the more I'm like, okay, this is both of us trying to express ideas that we've heard and have attached to. And then you see a character like Jesus, who we've been reading the Gospel of John, which is one of his 12 disciples who lived longer than the rest of them after everyone else died, so was able to kind of see where all the experiences that he witnessed with Jesus and these other people, how they then played out and like affected things later. But he's just writing what he like saw and experienced with Jesus. And constantly Jesus is just shattering the ideas of what you're supposed to do, how things are supposed to look. And it seems like he's working with that, you know, spotless reflection type thing, where he's just seeing reality for what it is.
Right.
And then not making second judgments, saying stuff to the point where he gets stuck on a cross.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much he just sticks to, no, this is the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems like there are characters like that at the root of most of these things.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that I've been really careful about is choosing who I'm listening to because of this like intuitive knowing. And there's this line in Zen that's like the unenlightened being who chooses to teach kills Zen.
Mm.
So if you're not in the state of direct, unaltered reality, and you're choosing to teach because you think you're 50% there, or you think you're there and you're not there, then you're teaching from a place that's not that place, and so you are inherently misguiding people.
Yeesh.
At least that's my current perception of like what that all means. And so it's really created this honing in of like there is this knowing in me when I see a teacher if there's any doubt. If there's any doubt, it could be like, oh, probably, but probably doesn't cut it if I'm going to have them teach me about reality, the only thing that matters to me. So it's only the teachers where there's just absolutely no shred or trace of a doubt. That's what's been the rock for me. Also, potato.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty crazy. That is awesome.
He was late because he was doing hatha yoga. Wow, it has been so long since seeing some of these icons.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And just so many times responding to those icons in comments and in Instagram messages and stuff.
And knowing that there's another human on the other side of the icon.
Yeah.
Potato, to say it shortly, we are both, or I guess we're just going through it. We're in the thick of it, I feel like. Is the way to say things. Not good or bad, we're just in the thick of it.
Yeah. That's absolutely it. And the way you put it earlier for anyone who didn't hear is just perfect for me. It's like we have, in a sense, exhausted the intellectual side of spirituality. And it's like, okay, I get it. And 1,000 times over, I've been like, okay, I've heard all the truth that I ever need to hear. And yet there's this massive disconnect between what I'm hearing, knowing it's true intellectually, and direct experience.
Living.
And so it's the bridging of that gap.
That's the mission right now.
That is the mission, and there's no way to circumvent it because here it is.
It's that or nothing.
It's the real work. It's like what Michael Singer says is like this is the real work to free yourself. Doesn't have the pizzazz on it.
Yeah. Been going through that for sure.
Yeah.
It's been an ugly ride.
Yeah. It has been. Certainly.
Not that it needs to be. Yeah. And what is ugly? Never mind. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to us. Any thoughts on ignorance, Samuel? Should one seek pleasure in ignorance? What are the consequences of being ignorant?
Yeah, it is, at times, there's a part of me that's like, this is, like, I'm conscious of all the difficulties now. It's almost as if it was easier when I wasn't. Or when I was ignorant. when I didn't know the things, when I wasn't trying so hard, and it's like it's definitely not true because I've been, except for certain moments in my life, just generally unsatisfied for my whole life. It's just, it's this feeling of like I'm not getting a full bite. I can't get a full bite. I am like half living, and it's just I again would not give advice to anyone else in that regard.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to go live in ignorance, live in ignorance. I am not going to tell you not to. But for me, there's no way that that's even possible. It's legitimately just not possible. It's like Sadhguru talks about being a slave. It's like I'm a slave. It's like there's absolutely no way ever that I could ever return to the state of ignorance and live there.
It feels like this whole thing about sensitivity is so big because, like, for me, with food has also been an interesting thing for me. And realizing recently, like, that I have a real issue with food and my relationship to it. And things like emotional binge eating and then like trying to fast for days to like stop the pain that I've gone through.
Yeah.
But then reflecting on my life, I've constantly eaten like that for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And was never sensitive enough to understand the amount of pain that was causing me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like the sensitivity's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll still get into that computer program rut, like eat all the food really quick,
Yeah.
and then be like, dang it,
Yeah.
I messed up.
Yeah.
And then I'll like get down on myself or whatever.
Yeah.
And recently, as I've been getting more sensitive to that, and then noticing it earlier every time.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to this statement that just you just brought into my head too, of satisfaction, because whenever I'm in that state and like trying to eat to repress or whatever it is, it's like I'm searching for this satisfaction. I'm clawing for it.
Yes.
And then this thing came to me of like, you're never gonna be satisfied, so stop.
Yeah.
And like that starts to be the type of like mentality that's been helping me slow down, of like, you're never going to be satisfied.
I've legitimately come to the exact same conclusion. Like feeling like something as small as wanting to just eat, or choose any other desire to have all the money in the world. Like that's not one that's particular for me, but it's the same root. It's this deep desire to be infinite, to not have limitations, for all of that. And it's it's the deep dissatisfaction that drives it and makes me want to just have and have and have. And it could be in terms of love as well. Like you want the affection, the attention. Ram Dass says that we walk around like hungry ghosts, just pulling in, and we can never hold it. And that's just what we want. A hungry ghost. Like, what a brilliant mental image that creates. If you're in tune with like these struggles, if you would call them, hungry ghosts. That's exactly it. You're just like looking for it. Where is it? Like, I need it. And you're trying to pull it in. You keep trying to pull it in from those same sources. And it's like, you're a ghost, man.
Yeah.
It'll never work. It'll never work because you're a ghost.
Two things. Firstly, this is also what, like earlier when we said the thing about you're walking through the woods on a different path than your friend, but then you look through the woods and you see your friend.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of times that Mitch and I have not seen each other for weeks,
Yeah.
come together and been like, whoa, I'm going through the exact same thing. Like, oh, satisfaction is something you're dealing with. That's literally what I've been dealing with every day. It's as if they're walking on a parallel path.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting perceiving the world recently more as like energy or whatever that 95% of dark matter is under everything. And also seeing how like a physical interaction with someone is energy that's being drawn together. And it's almost like everyone in this call probably relates to the things that we're saying on a level that you could only relate on that level because you were drawn there for some reason. And it's been pretty trippy thinking about things in more, or trying to release the ways that I have thought about things as being a physical reality, and more being like, how are things just manifesting, and like what are these waves that are making a Mitch appear in my life for this weekend and then like vanish, and other people appear and vanish.
Yeah.
And they're in my mind space, they're in my heart space, and they're just like songs that appear and vanish. And it's almost like all these different forms of a vibration that you somehow, you know, it gets very new agey of like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been more and more realizing that there's another line that came to me while writing some hip hop a few weeks ago that I'm thinking about. I'm actually trying to put together like a more in-depth video on, but it's another one of those lines where I've been like looking at it and haven't fully grasped it yet, or haven't fully started living it yet. But the line was, seeing the king and the slave are the same now. And it reminds me of what you were saying about, like, you just brought that up in me when you said the thing about it feels like what Sadhguru says about being a slave or whatever, that the king and the slave are the same, is I'm understanding as both on a communal level and on an individual level. Communal level being that the king doesn't have anything without the slaves that are making the civilization run. But on an individual level, you are never going to have that feeling of infinite or whatever unless you become a slave to the infinite, which literally means giving up the attempts at gripping this infinite and becoming, like, understanding that this body cannot be infinite. And you keep trying to identify this body with the infinite thing, where it's like, this body needs to become a slave to whatever is making it feel like it's, you know, not even there or whatever. Like all the practices of yoga and Ayurveda and all these different things, all these wisdoms are literally just telling you to tune in more and more and more to your body and give up the things that you want. And like that is the only way to actually be a king, or like enter the kingdom of heaven. That type of thing is like surrendering completely as a slave. And you're the same thing, which is ridiculous. It's the days when I'm the most a slave are the days when I feel the most holy, the most kingly, whatever you want to call it. the most fulfilled. And it's almost because I haven't even questioned what fulfillment means. I've just been doing the thing. And then every time that I just get in my own way, throw my dirt on the mirror,
Yeah.
it's like, now I gotta clean shit up. Every time.
The contradictions, man.
Yeah.
It's
It's all just
yeah.
this weird paradox.
Yeah. It really is.
It makes sense why so many of these practices also talk about paradoxes the whole time and stuff.
And why some of the teachings just could sound like nonsense because it's, for me, I'm thinking of like Zen teachings. Like
Yeah.
the Zen, you're like, first time I picked up a Zen book, I was like, what? Like, what even is this? Like, what am I looking at? What am I reading right now? But then it's like later on, now that I at least have a conceptual framework, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I still don't get it, but I kind of get it. And it's like, you get how the teachings are clearly beyond mind, because it's just mind just doesn't know what to do with a contradiction, and that's so big in the Zen teachings, is like this, that, and then they leave it. And you're like, what?
It's so true.
More questions?
More questions, if there are any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some updates we can go into soon, too.
Mm-hmm.
Vivan, I don't know you pronounce that properly. Spitting some bars out here. Very relatable content. Yeah, I guess are there any more this is an interesting question. Can you read something without saying it inside? That feels like it should be deep.
Yeah.
I don't think I can though.
Huh.
Presently.
Nope. Yeah, definitely not. I don't know if that's a skill that would be helpful to know. Maybe. I guess because that narration. I got a narrator up here,
Yeah.
and it really wants to run the show. Really wants to run the show. All right, let's see. Yeah, in terms of what Broughton is saying here about what he was saying with that religion question. That it's just, for me, I sometimes get hung up on the whole idea of religion because it's an institution. I don't really know because when you say this, can you visualize a world at overall peace without religion? Where my mind goes with that is that the religion wouldn't be what's causing the peace. It's like what the religion is pointing at. And so the question then is, do you need religion to point at it? And part of me feels like it has less strength as an institution and more strength as individuals who have realized the truth than going about and teaching it under no banner. But that's just my current perception.
There's a question that I've seen come up a few times, which could lead into the announcement type thing.
Yeah.
But someone goes, "What's your take on weed and psychedelics? Have you ever done psychedelics, and can you share that experience?"
Rad.
This is kind of where the story begins of what I've wanted to share. And I've on this channel, I feel like we both kind of like tiptoed around psychedelics.
Yeah.
Largely because, at least for me personally, there's a lot of like shame and guilt and like confusion that have been tied into my relationship with psychedelics. And all drug use, because I feel like as children, at least where we grow up, it's bored into you that drugs are bad, don't do them. And then also with someone like a Sadhguru type figure, it's like he'll say drugs are never going to get you there, you know? And that's something that I internally also feel is true, in a sense that a psychedelic experience is never going to put you into a permanent state.
Yeah, right.
And you're always going to drop off afterwards, and you're always going to feel like, oh, there's this tool I could go to. However, I did mushrooms for the first time my freshman year of college, I think, which was 2017 or something like that. And that was a big spark in the direction of spirit and spirituality. Before that, I had been exploring dreams and such things, and that kind of way of perceiving the world as like, maybe this daily life that's going on isn't all there is.
Yeah.
There's also the curiosity that led me into exploring with psychedelics. And throughout these years, I've been realizing that these things really can be a tool. And when they're just like any other tool, if they are mistreated, you're just going to get the lashback. If you're like trying to use a hammer to cut something, you're going to be the one who gets hurt. And understanding that type of thing is huge. Anyway, all of that has led me to now finally accepting, like, okay, these are tools that I'm using in a certain way in my life, and that has to do with just my life and where I am and how I need to be, and I need to let go of the shame and the guilt and all the crap around that. Which, if you were watching this channel a few months ago, there was one point where Mitch and I were talking about like this really big experience we had over a weekend. And I was not in a place where I was ready to talk about it. And now I realize that I am. So the thing that happened, I'm going to sip some water before I get deep into this.
All right. I feel good about going in this direction.
Yeah. The thing that that happened, actually a few months before that experience, I took some mushrooms and was lying in bed listening to music. And I'm just lying there like such on my back. And then slowly my body starts to vibrate as if the music is somehow moving me or something like that. But then it gets more and more intense, and all the different parts of my body start like vibrating at like a type of way that I couldn't move my body like that. And it started to feel as if some external force was like energetically massaging me pretty much. And after that, it would go in these really intense waves where it would really build until like my whole body was tensed up and fully jittering and then fully release. And it felt like just an amazing massage. And then after this kind of like last deep release, all of a sudden one of my hands just shoots up into the air and starts moving and moving to the music and making these symbols with my hand that I have never seen before. And I'm just looking at my hand, and this thing is just doing its own thing. And the only way I can describe it is as if the intelligence of this hand finally didn't have me in the way, and it was just allowed to do what it wanted to. That then took over my whole body. And slowly I went from laying down and like dancing in bed with my arms to standing up, dancing out of the room in a way that I've never danced before, into one of my friend's rooms, having a full conversation with him while my body is dancing. And I'm telling him, like, yo, dude, I'm not moving my body right now. I don't know how to describe this, but I wouldn't be able to, like, right now, if I were to dance and try to talk, I could not dance at that level and talk normally. And I didn't even know that I could dance like that until.
I also didn't know that you could dance like that.
So it's like,
Yeah.
people watched this happen and were like, what the hell is going on?
I've never seen Eli dance even in the same way. You know, someone dances in a certain way, and it's like, I know how you dance. You don't dance like that.
So that started becoming the thing that would happen when I would do mushrooms. And I do them pretty like well spaced out, like 3 or 4 months, however long feels right. But till I really feel like I've digested what happened last time and feel like I'm called to them again. But then every time since then that I've done mushrooms, my body has gotten like taken over by whatever this thing is. And I've gotten more and more comfortable with that feeling. And then on this one weekend, my only intention for the situation was I am fully letting go to whatever this thing is. I'm just going to let it take over and see what happens. Then I'm in a room with one of my friends, and that like energy buildup happens. I'm like, okay, this shit's happening again. What the hell? But then this time, I like sit up, and it feels like Eli has now taken a third person seat. Like the body is moving in its own way, but then it's just like this lightning strike of energy comes like down into me and just starts talking to one of my friends in a voice that isn't Eli's voice, and explains to my friend that this this intergalactic, the thing calls itself an alien, has now entered Eli's body and is now like in the driver's seat pretty much, and continues to like get up, start singing songs, start dancing, start moving, again, all in ways that Eli has never done before. Continues to, we had a bunch of really close friends over that night, goes downstairs, does a bunch of shit, says a bunch of shit that Eli would have never said, like really deep things in my life, but also saying deep things about other people's lives, and also saying these random predictions about like the world, what I'm supposed to do, or what this body is supposed to do, because this thing at this point is like Eli's just mine to control, pretty much. And the really interesting thing about it is that throughout the whole experience, even though I'm in the third person seat, it feels as if I am safer and more free and more alive than like ever. And
That's crazy.
yeah, so like he and all these other people also witnessed this whole thing happen. And then this thing like lays out predictions and stuff like that. And the next day I like come down from that experience and am super shook because one, a bunch of my relationships got really challenged because things were said through me that I knew I needed to take responsibility over. But at the moment, Eli was in the third person and was like, this stuff just needs to be said. I wasn't even like thinking about what was being said. Like Mitch can vouch that one of the craziest things about this experience was that this thing was having conversations with multiple people, like different conversation lines. You can probably say it more interestingly.
It was unreal. So Eli just went into this like, I don't know, 2-hour monologue, something like that, with a bunch of people in the room. And it was as if he would start a conversation with someone, stop mid-sentence, move to another thing, another thing, another thing, another thing. Conversations were just like all happening, and it was like there was someone in the control center who knew all of them going on, because he would start again mid-sentence 5 minutes later. Like he just stop what he was saying, go to talk to someone else about something else. And then it was like for him, somehow it all related back to this conversation he was having with the first person. And it was like this gymnastics play of the mind or something, or of conversation, and how much like whatever was channeling you or you was juggling all of it so randomly, but random to us. It felt like not random to...
It was literally as if, like, start a conversation with one person, they leave the room, the thing keeps talking with other people, then the thing turns directly when that one person is coming up the staircase and starts the conversation as the person's entering the room again, and, like, continues that sentence that was had 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, stuff to the point where it just confused me, and this being kept repeating too, that Eli doesn't understand the timeline that things are being talked about on. Like, all the predictions that were made, he was like, tomorrow was always the word. Tomorrow, but Eli doesn't understand the timeline. And Eli can't understand the timeline. So anyway, I come down from that and I'm rattled and shook, and that starts like this 3-month process of dealing with the aftermath of that and trying to figure out what the hell just happened. And slowly I've been like reconciling what the hell that was. And this like symbol came into my mind that like symbolized the whole thing. And it's like a diamond, like 2 triangles with a line in the middle that kind of show this like reflection of spirit world, human world, and that they are actually like a reflection of each other in some way. Again, the symbol felt similar to like a rap line where it's like, this symbol is here, I don't fully understand it, but I do know that deeply has to do with what I am at my core. And then 2 weekends ago, the thing returns in the same way as predicted, on a timeline that I wasn't expecting. Mitch wasn't there, but it happens in the same way that the thing had said it was going to happen, even though I had no way of planning or perceiving that that was going to happen in that way. It just so happens that on that day was also the day when I was like, I feel like this symbol is something that I need to fully give myself to. So I was at my friend's place where I was planning on having them, they do like stick and poke tattoos. One of the things with two of my cousins who I really look up to, when they got married, well, one of my cousins and his wife tattooed their ring on their finger. And it's something that I've always looked up to since then and been like, with any commitment that I make in my life fully, I want to be so in it that I will put it on my body to the point where when I asked them about the ring thing, they were both like, we've talked about what would happen if we both got divorced, and we realized this thing is such a big part of my life that I would never regret having it tatted on me,
Wow.
even if the thing failed.
Wow.
So it was like that level of commitment.
That's epic. Yeah.
Yeah, that I realized I want to embody. So the first thing that I tattooed on me is the symbol of a new dream, which is like this moon. You can't fully see it because it's not the best tattoo. It was my sister's first stick and poke. But it's the logo of A New Dream, which is like the art channel, which was the beginning of Learn With Us as Beyond Entertainment. And then this weekend, I'm planning on getting this tattoo, and then the thing returns as it said it was going to. For like the whole evening, it's like this time it's speaking through me in handwriting on paper, and it's writing out what I like need to do and like why this body is here at this time. And then it gives the final draft up of the symbol that needs to get tatted on me. And with that built in is like the symbolism of what I am supposed to do and be here for. Which all of this stuff, had you talked to me a year and a half ago, I would have been like, this kid is going nuts. And the only reason I'm sharing this with this group of people is, one, I think it's just fascinating stuff when it comes to the realm of spirituality and what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And now I'm just at the point where I don't have as much shame and confusion about it, but rather I'm just accepting it and going, screw it. If this is the thing that has felt the most true to me in my entire existence.
Yeah.
All I can do is fully give myself to it.
You gave me a line a while ago. It's you. Sometimes you have to be just crazy enough to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a beautiful line for everybody watching. Yeah.
Yes, that's hilarious because that's like the line that's been in my head over the last days as well. So, anyway, the thing describes that in this symbol was tied in tomorrow's date. And tomorrow's date is important because it's 2/20/2022, which if you look at it, I realized was a mirror, a palindrome, 22022022. And it just said like, okay, this is the date, this is being put into the symbol, this is like when it starts, and you are like fully on this ride. So what this ride is entailing is that the new dream content, like the hip hop stuff, is going to be going very, very deep now, and like really a lot of focus is going to be put on it. So tomorrow, like this whole experience made me write a song and like a poem that's going to drop tomorrow on that channel. And also there's a new channel that I've been talking about a little bit on here, where Learn With Us, this intellectual side of things, has kind of come to an end, at least for now. And Evolve With Us is the new project that is beginning, Evolve with Us is going to be short documentary style content that's all about this journey and trying things to see where this journey goes. So the first video of that is going to be dropping on this Tuesday. That video is with Mitch and Britt. We did a cleanse all together, and that was also one of the things that sparked this whole journey in like a crazy way, and that was right before Mitch moved out. Also on Tuesday is going to be dropping the last episode of Learn With Us. So Mitch and I made a reaction to Sadhguru's video about devotion, which is also just hilarious because now we're both going into a part of our life where devotion is seemingly the thing. But yeah, so all of that is Learn With Us coming to an end. A New Dream and Evolve With Us are about to go in like crazy. If you're interested in those journeys, they're open to everyone. And I also thought it'd be fun right now to show you guys the tat
Yeah.
that was
Nice.
had.
Nice.
Yes.
Dang.
So that's the symbol, and yeah, this like diamond was the initial thing that came, just these two triangles, and then the thing goes like, all right, 22022222220, and then I thought there was going to be two dots in the middle, and then another O, and then 22. And then it was like, no, what you need to understand is that two in the middle of like you and spirit are supposed to become one.
Wow.
And that is what this like middle point is describing.
Sheesh.
And yeah, this was done by a friend by hand.
That's unreal. That is like
Luckily the man is becoming a heart surgeon, so
really
that makes sense.
nice. Yeah.
But yeah.
Damn.
So this is the official beginning, and I thought it would be a cool way to close out the Learn With Us segment, especially with this man right here. Cause yeah, it's a new phase of life, and we would have never. The craziest thing is we would never have been here if it weren't for all of you people and the way that completely steered both of our entire realities. Like,
yeah.
we never would have found any of the stuff that we are like fully in now.
Yeah.
And it's wild. It's just wild. So yeah, that's a little update on where this thing is headed. Yeah. It's a crazy time in life. Indeed.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. And then Mitch is gonna go to India at some point. We don't know where this is all going.
Nope.
It's a strange ride. But yeah, I guess the biggest thing I've been realizing recently is like all you can do is fully embrace the deck of cards that you got going on, your karma, whatever you want to call that, and go about it as non-judgmentally as possible and just give yourself, because whatever the hell else happens doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. So, yeah, I'm very thankful to be in a spot where I can now talk about this type of thing.
Yeah.
And not feel a huge like egoic attachment or a lot of like guilt. I guess those are all ego things too, is like guilt, shame, but also all like the pride and shit. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I just know where we're at now.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Does anyone have any final thoughts or questions out there in the ether? Wow. Wow.
Sam, I'm gonna miss you too.
Hmm.
Even though I don't, we've never met in person. What a trip.
That's like the extreme version of walking through the two paths in the woods. You put on some binoculars and you're like, oh, there's Sam over there.
Yeah. What's up?
There's John Van Dalen.
Oh,
It's kind of a gorgeous day out.
really is.
It's also beautiful. We're having some friends over this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna do art together, dance, and just enjoy.
Yeah.
That's all that's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta go. So long, Broughton.
See you, buddy.
All the best. I think it's time to bring this to a close, eh?
Amen, John. Amen.
Damn.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah. Sam out here
Wow.
dropping the heart bombs. Let's go, John. Keep the writing coming. PIO, let's work on music. Hit us up on a new dream. Yeah, we want a collab. We'll shred stuff, whatever it is. What do you think about the end of the world? Doesn't matter. From Holland.
Wow.
Lots of love, Rick.
Hmm.
Damn.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Sarab. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing that.
I feel like that's been just so blessed that Mitch ended up in my life, because it feels like that has been what our relationship has done for the two of us, is like helped us break into so many of the things that we've struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that that has also been able to be presented on a platform like this and have people like you then guide us and ride with us,
Yeah.
it's magic. It's magic. Absolutely. All right, folks. Tuesday, last episode of Learn With Us.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, tomorrow, new song featuring a painting from one of our roommates.
Oh, nice.
Shall be a good time. All right, folks.
All right.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Much love.
Much love.